It's already over. The room went quiet, and then the second name walked in. Sit down, lock the door, put the phone face down, because what I'm about to walk you through tonight isn't a rumor, isn't a theory. This is the exact 47-minute window the protective machine somebody very famous built around himself for 20 straight years finally started leaking from the inside. And the leak isn't coming from Jaguar Wright anymore. The leak is coming from a room Jaguar Wright was never even standing in. Now stay with me, because the formula they ran on her for 2 decades was never about silencing one woman. That part you already know. One woman gets her credits stripped, one woman gets her sessions disappeared, one woman gets her radio rotation quietly throttled until the algorithm hands you a meltdown clip before it ever hands you the catalog. And then the building exhales, because the whole architecture was built to survive exactly one body, one cycle, one shuggle, one grave. You can outlast one Jaguar Wright. Honey, you cannot outlast a corroborated Jaguar Wright. And somewhere between the close of business Tuesday and the moment the bridges and tunnels emptied out, a second human being attached their actual identity to the late May 2026 testimony Jaguar delivered with the calm of a woman who'd already played the next 8 moves in her head before she ever sat down in front of that camera. Not a clout chaser, not an Instagram refugee, a real person with calendar metadata, with archived emails, with a 2009 non-disclosure agreement. Legal sources are whispering they're getting ready to detonate inside a conference room in the next 14 days. Y'all, that's not gossip, that's a fuse. Now, let me tell you what civilians always miss about how an industry suppression operation actually functions in real life, because this is the part nobody on the timeline explains correctly. It is not about muting one woman. Muting one woman is rookie level. You smear her one time, you flood the search index with the most unflattering 40 seconds of her entire archive, you make sure the next podcaster and the next morning show and the next reporter all open with the meltdown clip instead of the receipts clip, and then you wait. You just wait. Because the public is built for a 72-hour memory, and the people protecting these men are built for a 20-year horizon. That gap, baby, that gap is the whole entire trick. But the second a second voice walks into the frame, a second voice that is steadier, more documented, harder to character assassinate than the first, the entire equation that the lawyers thought was airtight collapses on itself in real time. Because now the public is not staring at one woman with a story. The public is staring at a pattern, and nobody in the protective consensus, nobody in that whole architecture ever drew up a playbook for a pattern. The playbook was always one woman, one news cycle, one closed file, one quiet settlement. 2 women is a completely different animal. 2 women is a federal supplement. 2 women is the kind of headline that gets sponsors returning calls inside 90 minutes. And that is precisely what allegedly started moving this past Tuesday at 4:47 Eastern, when a single 2009 calendar screenshot reportedly landed in a locked single thread shared by 3 reporters from 3 outlets who never share unverified material. The screenshot did not originate with Jaguar Wright. The screenshot originated with somebody else entirely, and the name on that 2009 invite line, including the name everybody is whispering about, is not by itself proof of anything except that this man was in a room on a Tuesday afternoon 17 years ago, but that same name sitting next to the name of a corroborating witness who is preparing to break a 2009 non-disclosure agreement, while Jaguar Wright independently placed that same name on the record 6 weeks earlier in a separate venue, is the kind of crisis lawyers describe in private as a federal-grade migraine. Receipt number 1, the metadata. Whoever this second corroborator is, and I am not naming them tonight because counsel reportedly imposed a 72-hour comms blackout for reasons every grown adult understands, the calendar artifact is not a screenshot of a Reddit post your cousin's coworker forwarded you. It is reportedly a native export off an Outlook 2009 server, the kind of file a forensic team can authenticate in hours instead of weeks. The kind of file you cannot manufacture without leaving a thumbprint a halfway awake paralegal clocks inside 20 minutes. The kind of file that has already been mirrored to 3 separate cloud archives in 3 separate jurisdictions because somebody on the legal side learned the bitter lessons of the past 2 decades and decided single point of failure storage was no longer an acceptable risk profile. Underline that, twice. That one detail tells you the corroborator is being walked through this by lawyers who have done this before and have lost evidence before. Receipt number 2, the cross-reference. The 2 names on that 2009 invite, which I am declining to broadcast tonight because the second witness's legal team is still working in the dark, are the same 2 names Jaguar Wright spoke into a camera in late May. Not adjacent names, not loosely associated names, the same names, same rooms, same building. And that building, by the way, has changed hands 3 separate times since 2009, and its original tenant directory has been quietly scrubbed from 2 real estate databases between 2014 and 2019. Now, I am not saying anybody on that side of the ledger is hiding anything. I am saying when a tenant directory disappears from a public database while litigation involving that same orbit is loading, an objective observer is allowed to clock it. The numbers are lining up like a slot machine. Receipt number 3, the behavioral tell, which is the receipt I personally trust the most, because behavior does not lie, even when press releases do. The 4 legal teams that have reportedly retained outside crisis counsel inside the past 6 weeks, including the team historically aligned with the man at the center of this storm, are not the legal teams of people who think a story is fading on its own. They are the legal teams of people who have been briefed in a windowless room that a second voice is preparing to corroborate, and corroboration is the catalyst that converts a defamation defense into a discovery problem. And discovery, y'all, discovery is where the entire game changes, because discovery is the room where the documents you swore did not exist suddenly have to be produced under penalty of perjury. That is what they call a checkmate, smoking gun, federal grade. And the people who built the protection structure know they are looking down the barrel of it. So the natural question right now, the one I know is sitting in your throat, is why now? Why June of 2026 and not 2009, not 2014, not 2019? 3 layers, stay with me. Layer 1, the cultural moment. We are operating in the post-Diddy indictment, post-Cassie deposition, post-Megan Thee Stallion verdict landscape, where juries no longer reflexively dismiss the testimony of a Black woman as instability or attention-seeking. The jury pool has shifted underneath the people who designed the discrediting machinery, and the machinery was calibrated for a public that does not exist anymore. They are running the 2003 user manual on the 2026 firmware. That gap is fatal, and somebody finally figured it out. Layer 2, the legal precedent. The federal grand jury process that produced the Diddy indictment reportedly created what insiders are calling an open-door framework for whistleblowers inside that exact same industry vertical. Counsel for the principals knows this, the protective consensus knows this, and the second corroborators counsel knows that the moment a federal source protection structure exists, the personal cost of stepping forward drops by an order of magnitude, which means the rational risk calculation for a 2009 witness has just shifted from suicidal to manageable in a single news cycle. Layer 3, this one. This is the part that should sit in your chest. 6 weeks ago, Jaguar Wright did not scream. Jaguar Wright did not perform. Jaguar Wright sat down, lowered her voice, and named names with the surgical composure of somebody who already knew exactly which 48 hours were coming next and had pre-cleared every word with the people who needed to clear it. That composure, that 4-star general composure, was reportedly the green flag a second witness had been waiting on since 2009. Because the rumor going around the rooms tonight is that this second witness told Jaguar privately 17 years ago that they would only come forward if Jaguar went first and survived the first wave intact. Jaguar went first. Jaguar survived. And now the second wave is loading into the chamber. Pause. Stop scrolling. Let that breathe. Because if that timeline is accurate, and the people I trust are telling me it is, then everything Jaguar Wright has absorbed for the past 2 decades, every cancellation, every meltdown reel, every interview lead that opened with the worst 40 seconds of her archive instead of the best 40 minutes of her catalog, every closed door, every quietly disappeared session credit, all of it was reportedly the price of admission she was willing to pay to be the wedge that finally cracked the door open for a corroborator she had been holding space for since the Bush administration. Read that sentence again. That is not an unstable woman. That is a long-game operator. That is somebody who took the public humiliation as the cover charge for a private chess match. Now y'all come to the front of the classroom. Everybody who spent the last decade laughing at Jaguar instead of listening to Jaguar, this is your moment to revisit some priors. Especially the priors you inherited from people quietly on a payroll you didn't even know was issuing checks. Now let me walk you through what is reportedly happening behind closed doors at 1411 Broadway, at 3 boutique crisis communications shops in Midtown Manhattan, and at 1 publicly traded media conglomerate I am declining to name on this video for legal hygiene reasons that should be self-evident. Phone calls are being made that are deliberately being routed off official channels to avoid future legal hold obligations, which is a sentence I cannot believe I just typed, but here we are. Meetings are being convened at restaurants instead of at offices, which is the corporate equivalent of choosing the bench in the park over the conference room with the wire in the wall. Outside counsel is being retained at billable rates that would make a hedge fund partner blink twice. And the most damning behavioral signal of all, at least 2 of the principles I am circumspectly referring to this evening, and seasoned observers can absolutely fill in their own blanks, have reportedly canceled high-profile public appearances scheduled for the next 60 days, not postponed, canceled outright, with the kind of last-minute timing crisis firms historically reserve for clients who have been confidentially advised that service of process is imminent. Hold up. Let me say this part plainly because I want it on the record. You do not cancel a calendared appearance for a story you think is dying in a week. You do not cancel a Met Gala adjacent appearance for a news cycle you think is fading. You cancel a high-visibility appearance for a story you have been told, in a room with no windows, is about to consume the next 2 news cycles, and you do not want to be photographed walking a red carpet on the same day a federal subpoena lands on your publicist's desk. That is the behavior of people who have been read the next chapter and chose the bunker over the spotlight. So what happens now? Inside the next 90 days, you are going to see one of 3 developments, and I want you to track this with me because I will be coming back to this video to score myself. Pull up a notes app. Write this down. I am not playing. Development 1. A pre-suit letter from Defamation Counsel hits at least 2 outlets that have run sympathetic Jaguar Wright coverage in the past 6 weeks. This is the standard containment move. Watch for it. It usually arrives via a Friday afternoon delivery, so the news desk has the whole weekend to internalize the threat before the Monday editorial meeting. The letter will not name what they are afraid of. The letter will pretend to be about something else entirely. That is how you know it's the right one. Development 2. The second corroborator's identity surfaces, but not through a leak, not through a podcast. It surfaces through a controlled, attorney-managed, single-outlet exclusive on a high-trust platform. The names on the shortlist, as I have heard them, are ProPublica, The New Yorker, and one specific veteran 60 Minutes producer whose name has been attached to nearly every significant entertainment industry exposé since 2012. If you see a long-form piece drop on any of those 3 with a clean rollout window and a coordinated social push, you are looking at Development 2, and you can mark my words. Development 3, and this is the one that should chill you the most. Total silence. Coordinated, multi-platform, surgical silence from every principal Jaguar Wright placed on the record. No statements, no denials, no carefully placed sympathetic profile in a women's magazine, no surrogate posting an Instagram story with a vague crystal and affirmation caption, just absolute, professionally engineered quiet. Because when the legal advice in scenarios like this gets handed down, the advice is always the same. Do not engage. Do not feed the cycle. Let the lawyers handle it in the dark. And if you are watching for a story to die, and instead what you see is the principals going completely radio silent for 30 straight days, you are not watching a story die, you are watching a story enter the litigation chamber, which is the single loudest silence in the entire entertainment economy. Now, let me address the room directly because I already see you in the comments typing. Some of y'all are typing right now that Jaguar Wright is unstable. Some are typing that Jaguar is a clout chaser. Some are typing that Jaguar never had the career to support these accusations in the first place. To all of that, I will say two things, and only two things. First, Jaguar Wright's instrument, the actual singing voice preserved on the early Roots projects and on her solo catalog that the algorithm has been quietly de-ranking on you for 15 years, is one of the most credentialed soul voices of her generation. The fact that you cannot find her catalog on the first scroll of your streaming app is itself a data point, not an accident, a data point. Second, every single woman who has ever brought receipts against a powerful man in this industry has been called unstable on the day before she was proven correct. Every single one. Run the tape. Cassie was called unstable. Megan was called unstable. The Cosby accusers were called unstable. The R. Kelly accusers were called unstable. The pattern is so consistent at this point that the word unstable is no longer a description of the woman. It is a leading indicator that you should pay closer attention to what the woman is actually saying. Sit with that. Now come back to the metadata point with me because I do not think the average viewer fully appreciates what has shifted technologically underneath this whole game. 20 years ago, when somebody in this orbit wanted to make a witness disappear, you could lose a fax, you could lose a daytimer, you could printed a contract, you could pay a cleaner to walk into an office on a Saturday and walk back out with a banker's box and a believable story for the receptionist. That was the analog era of suppression. That era is over. Done. We are operating in a world now where a 2009 Outlook calendar invite has been backed up across at least 4 redundant systems before it ever hit the corroborator's personal archive, where forensic firms can rebuild a deleted email thread from server-side residue 6 different ways before lunch on a Tuesday. The men whose names are on that 2009 invite came of age in the analog era of suppression. Their muscle memory is wrong for the room they are about to walk into. Their lawyers know it, their crisis consultants know it. The only people who have not been told yet are the loyalists in the quote tweets still posting cope memes about Jaguar Wright like it's 2017. To y'all, I will say this with genuine affection. Draft a different position now. The one you are holding is going to look very, very different on the other side of the next 90 days. Now, let me also address the reporters who are watching this and pretending they are not. I see you. You know who you are. You have been sitting on partial documentation for 2 years, 3 years, and in one case I happen to personally know about, 5 years. And you have not run the story because your editor would not greenlight it without a second corroborated source. The second corroborator is loading. The phone you are about to receive a call on is the same phone you have been ignoring on purpose since the first Jaguar Wright interview dropped. When that call comes in, the correct answer is not to lateral the story to a competitor. The correct answer is not to bury it under a wellness hit piece. The correct answer is publish. Because if you do not publish, the legacy outlet that does is going to win a Polk Award and a Pulitzer nomination on a story you held in your drafts folder for 18 months. And you will spend the rest of your career explaining at panels why you sat on it. Do better, be better. One more thing, and then I'm going to let you write your verdict in the comments. There is a particular flavor of disinformation that is going to flood your timeline in the next 72 hours, and I want you ready for it. You are going to see a wave of unsourced posts, many traceable back to accounts that have historically defended this same man, claiming the second corroborator has been discredited, that the second corroborator has a criminal record, that the second corroborator is mentally ill, that the second corroborator is a paid agent of some rival conglomerate. Note the rhythm.
Note the timing. Note the fact that you are going to see at least 3 of these claims surface in the same 45-minute window across 3 different accounts that follow each other and that all opened in the past 11 months. That is not organic discourse, baby. That is a coordinated pre-bunk operation. And the fact that you are seeing it deployed at all is itself evidence that the people whose names are on that 2009 invite know exactly what is coming and are spending serious money trying to soften the landing zone before the landing happens. When you see those defense posts, do not engage, do not quote tweet, do not amplify. Just screenshot, timestamp, archive. Because 30 days from now, those screenshots are going to be the receipts on top of the receipts. Pull the lens back with me for 1 second. Take Jaguar Wright out of the frame entirely. Pretend this is a documentary about a different industry, a different decade, a different country. What you are actually witnessing is the slow public collapse of a private protection structure engineered to survive single-source whistleblowers, but never stress-tested against corroborated, document-supported, federally protected dual-source whistleblowers. The structure that generation inherited and reinforced was built for the volume of disclosure that existed when newspapers had foreign desks, and entertainment journalism was a beat, and a magazine fact-checker had 3 weeks to verify a single anecdote. That world is gone. The structure does not know that world is gone. The structure is running 2003 software on 2026 hardware, and the lag is finally catching up to it in real time on the very timeline you are scrolling. And here is the part I genuinely believe is historic. If the second corroborator goes on the record in the manner the rumor mill is currently describing, with documentation attached instead of rumor, you are not just looking at one more entertainment scandal. You are looking at the proof of concept for an entire generation of suppressed witnesses sitting on documentation for 10, 15, 20 years, waiting for one successful precedent before they themselves come forward. The second corroborator is not the end of the wave. The second corroborator is the demonstration that the wave is survivable. And if the demonstration lands, what comes next is not a trickle. What comes next is a flood. And that flood will not be limited to the original cast of characters Jaguar Wright placed on the record. The flood will expand into rooms in adjacent industries, into adjacent decades, into adjacent zip codes that share lawyers and accountants and crisis firms with the rooms the principals personally occupied. That is the systemic story. That is the book somebody is going to write in 2029, and you are watching the opening chapter right now on a Tuesday evening on a YouTube channel. So bring it home with me. Whatever you believed about the discrediting machinery, whatever you believed about whether Jaguar Wright was a credible voice or a punchline, whatever you believed about the cathedral and the consensus and the men in the rooms, put those priors on the shelf for 90 days. Just 90 days. Watch the next 90 days carefully. Set a calendar reminder. Come back to this video on the other side and tell me which of the 3 developments hit first. Tell me whether you saw the pre-suit letter. Tell me whether the controlled exclusive landed at ProPublica or the New Yorker. Tell me whether the principals went fully dark for 30 straight days. Because the bandage has officially become the bleed. The 20-year machine is out of fuel, and Jaguar Wright, the woman the industry has spent 2 decades trying to convince you to ignore, has just done the one thing the protective consensus was structurally incapable of surviving. Jaguar Wright made it to 2. So drop your verdict in the comments. Tell me which of the 3 developments lands first. Tell me whether you believe the second name shows up in the next 14 days or the next 30. Hit subscribe so the algorithm sees you when I come back. And the next one is going to have a name attached to receipt number 2 that the room I have been describing to you tonight has been working overtime to keep off the front page. Stay with this story. Stay sharp. Stay louder than the cope. The next move is already on the board, and I will see you on the other side. Goodbye.